October 14th, 1961. 3:42 a.m. Harlem, Lenox Avenue. Bumpy Johnson was asleep when the killers came for him. No warning. No phone call. Just footsteps inside his home, soft, deliberate, meant for a man not expected to wake up. 3 attackers entered through the kitchen window. One carried a sawed-off. Another a revolver. The last one held only a knife, but he was the one Bumpy once trusted. They moved like professionals. Straight up the staircase. Room by room. Looking for Harlem's king. Bumpy's eyes opened before the door handle even turned. A lifetime in the underworld teaches a man to wake at the sound of danger. His hand slipped beneath the pillow, finding the gun always waiting there. A whisper outside the bedroom. End it quick. Boss wants proof. Bumpy didn't breathe. Didn't blink. He counted the steps. 3, 2, 1. The door swung open. He rolled off the bed and fired twice. The first intruder dropped instantly. The shotgun blast from the second tore into the wall where Bumpy had been a second earlier. Plaster exploded. A framed wedding photo hit the floor and shattered. Bumpy crawled low across the room, firing again. Another scream. 2 left. 1 wounded, 1 running. He moved fast, bare feet on cold hardwood, heart steady like a man who'd survived too many close calls to panic now. The handgun was warm in his grip. The hallway was smoke and echoes. A voice from down the stairs. Fall back, he's awake. They tried to drag the wounded man with them. They failed. He was dead weight. The moment they fled into the street, Bumpy knew one thing with clarity. This wasn't random. Someone gave them his address. Someone inside Harlem. He stood in the stairwell, breathing hard, staring at the man he just put down. The knife in his pocket marked him clearly, a man from inside Bumpy's circle. That betrayal mattered more than bullets tonight. And Bumpy was going to find out who signed that order. Harlem would shake when he did. Bumpy didn't call the police. He called no one. He stood over the body on his hallway floor, staring at the face. Young, jittery, familiar. A runner for the Genovese pipeline, a kid Bumpy once bailed out of a Harlem jail cell. That memory stung more than the cut on his arm. He dragged the body into the bathtub, cleaned the hallway himself, and dressed in a dark suit like it was Sunday. Revenge wasn't rage for Bumpy, it was procedure. As he tied his shoes, one thought circled his mind like smoke. If they dare hit me at home, someone thinks I've gone weak. 3 hours earlier, Harlem had been quiet. The clubs on 125th still ringing with trumpets, dice rolling in back rooms, money moving in envelopes. Bumpy ruled it not by fear alone but by order. Junkies fed. Rent paid. His word kept peace where police didn't. And everyone knew peace never lasts. His rise was built on battles. From Alcatraz years to the French Connection Wars, Bumpy had outplayed bosses bigger than him. But that success bred enemies. Italian families uptown hated seeing Harlem profit without their cut. Younger black crews whispered that Bumpy was too old school. The feds wanted him caged. Politicians wanted him gone. Even some friends wished his crown would fall so they could pick up the pieces. A month before the attack, a meeting changed everything. Carlo from the Italians invited Bumpy to Little Italy. A long table. Empty smiles. Promises that tasted like poison. Carlo said, partnership. Bumpy said, Harlem stays Harlem. Carlo's jaw tightened. Then you stand alone. That was the first warning. The second came 2 weeks later, when one of Bumpy's most loyal captains, Earl Little Man Morris, didn't show up to a sit-down. He disappeared like smoke in winter. No trace. No farewell. Just gone. And now assassins in his bedroom. These weren't separate events. They were dominoes, lined up by someone patient. Bumpy walked into the cold morning air. Harlem streetlights flickered like witnesses pretending they saw nothing. He lit a cigar, steady hand, controlled breath, and stepped into a black sedan. He wasn't running. He was hunting. But he had no idea that the betrayal wasn't from downtown. It was coming from his own circle. By noon, every corner boy in Harlem had heard the rumor. They tried to kill Bumpy in his sleep. Whispers ran through barbershops and pool halls like electricity. Some said Italians. Some said police. But the streets always know one truth before anyone else. It had to be someone close. Bumpy entered the Palm, his usual spot. Polished wood, back booth, no windows facing the street. 3 men sat waiting. Junebug, Nat Pettigrew, and his right-hand man Archie Red Daniels. Loyal for years, cool under pressure, the kind of lieutenant who handled problems quietly. Bumpy sat. No smile. Someone fed my location, he said. Silence. Forks paused. Eyes lowered. Only Archie held eye contact. You tell me who, Archie replied. I'll make them vanish by sundown. It was a strong answer. Too strong. Bumpy filed that reaction away. He laid the dead intruder's knife on the table. Silver handle, carved initials. LM Junebug cursed quietly. Nat shifted in his seat. LM could only mean one man. Little Man Morris, missing for 2 weeks. If Little Man switched sides, he didn't do it alone. Bumpy leaned back, watching their faces instead of the knife. Fear does something interesting. It makes liars blink too fast. Find me Little Man, Bumpy said. Alive. Archie nodded. But something in Bumpy's stomach twisted. Archie was efficient, too efficient sometimes, and Little Man was his recruit, his boy. If this hit was internal, the line between loyalty and ambition just got blurry. Later that night, Bumpy visited Madam Queen's old spot, a soul food joint disguised as retirement. She was the only one he trusted enough to speak openly with. You taught Harlem, Bumpy said, sitting beside her. Power don't get stolen, it's handed over. She studied him. So who do you think wants your chair? Bumpy didn't answer. Didn't need to. She already knew. Loyalty breaks from the inside first, she whispered. Watch the ones who don't flinch when you bleed. Before Bumpy left, she added one last warning. If they missed last night, they'll try again. What she didn't know, someone was already following Bumpy's car. A dark Chrysler. 2 men. No headlights. This shadow will matter soon. 2 nights later, Harlem felt wrong. Too quiet. Too polite. Even the gamblers on 145th rolled dice softer, like the concrete itself was holding its breath. Bumpy's car moved through Lenox like a shark in dark water. Archie sat beside him. No conversation. No music. Just road noise and thoughts sharp enough to cut glass. They were headed to a warehouse near the river. Tip said Little Man was there. Alive. Hiding. Which meant answers. When the sedan stopped, Bumpy noticed it immediately. 1 overhead light. Door half open. No guards. Too easy. Easy is never good. Bumpy placed a hand on Archie's arm before he stepped out. You sure your intel is clean? Archie didn't look back. You doubt me now? Not an answer, a deflection. A red flag. Inside the warehouse, footsteps echoed. Dust. Empty crates. Dripping pipes. And in a chair at the center, little man Morris, bruised, tied, mouth taped, eyes wide like a man who'd seen hell and wished it back. Bumpy approached slowly. Little man shook his head violently, trying to warn him. That's when the click of a hammer cut the air. Bumpy turned. Archie stood there with a revolver aimed straight at his chest. Calm. Cold. Like this moment had been rehearsed. Little man started crying behind the tape. Bumpy's jaw tightened. It was you. Archie exhaled like he'd been waiting years to drop the mask. You kept Harlem stuck in your shadow. Old rules. Old fear. Italians offered me a new deal. Leadership. Profit. Future. You brought killers to my home, Bumpy said, voice low. Archie shrugged. Business, boss. A car engine outside roared, more men arriving. This wasn't a conversation. It was the final move. Bumpy's hand drifted to his coat, inches from his gun. Archie smiled. Don't. You won't clear leather before I. A gunshot cracked. Not Bumpy's. Little man kicked his chair over, knocking Archie's arm aside. Bullet grazed Bumpy's coat instead of his heart. Chaos erupted. Bumpy dove sideways behind a crate, firing back. Crates splintered. Men burst inside, Italians, armed heavy. Shots thundered, lighting the dark like lightning. Little man crawled for cover, screaming under gunfire. Bumpy counted bodies, counted bullets, hunted between shadows. He wasn't dying tonight. He moved like war taught him, efficient, ruthless. 2 Italians down. 1 more dropped screaming. Smoke thick. Echoes wild. But Archie escaped through a side door. A betrayal now loose in Harlem. And this escape will tear the city apart. By sunrise, bodies were gone, blood washed off concrete, but Harlem felt the wound. Word spread faster than truth. Archie Daniels betrayed Bumpy. The man who sat across his table. Ate at his house. Carried his secrets. Some said Bumpy looked colder that morning. Not angry, empty. Like betrayal carved something out of him. Little man survived, shaken and pale. In Bumpy's office, wrapped in a blanket, he finally spoke. They paid me to lure you out, he confessed, voice cracking. Archie said if you were gone, the streets would choose him. Italians promised everything. Money, turf, respect. Bumpy listened without interrupting. No yelling. No threats. Just silence. The kind men fear more than bullets. Little man sobbed. I didn't know they'd go to your house. I swear on my mother. Bumpy raised a hand. The room froze. Loyalty isn't about never falling, he said, calm as a judge. It's about what you do after. Little man expected death. Instead, Bumpy stood, walked to the window, watching Harlem breathe outside. Kids laughing. Vendors setting carts. Life pretending normal. If I kill you, Bumpy said, I prove Archie right. Fear rules Harlem. Not me. He turned. But you'll work until your soul pays its debt. Little man nodded through tears. Nat and Junebug entered. Word is Italians protecting Archie now, Nat said. They're betting the block thinks you're slipping, Junebug added. Bumpy smiled, not kind, not angry, strategic. They think last night showed weakness. It showed the opposite. He stepped into the hallway, hat low, coat sharp. Men watched him walk like a storm building. Bumpy ordered one move. Lock Harlem down. No drugs. No numbers. No business moves until I say so. If someone eats, they owe me gratitude, not fear. A city without vice? Unthinkable. But overnight, corners dried up. Streets felt hungry. Italian cash flow burned slow. Dealers complained. Soldiers grumbled. But no one disobeyed. Because Bumpy Johnson wasn't fighting for money. He was reclaiming respect. No bullets. No shouting. Power by starvation. And when a kingdom starves, traitors come out searching for bread. It took only 5 days. Archie's lieutenants broke first. One whispered a location. A bar downtown. Neutral ground. But Bumpy didn't walk into that bar alone. He brought Harlem with him. This confrontation will write his legend in ink and gunpowder. The bar sat on a quiet corner below 110th, neon sign half dead, windows fogged with cheap whiskey fumes. Inside, the Italians waited. Men with cold smiles and warm triggers. And at their center, drink in hand, sat Archie Daniels as if he hadn't tried to murder the man walking toward him. Bumpy entered alone at first. Coat unbuttoned. No rush. No nerves. The room tensed, chairs stopped. Cards froze mid-air. Someone muttered. He actually came. Archie rose slowly, smirking. You're bold, I'll give you that. Bumpy didn't reply. He simply looked at him like a man studying weather, calculating when the storm hits shore. Archie spread his hands. You could have had peace. Split Harlem. Let the Italians run the big money, we take the crumbs together. Bumpy's jaw twitched. Harlem doesn't belong to outsiders. And it damn sure doesn't belong to cowards. The bar door opened again. Then again. Then again. Harlem walked in. Nat Junebug. Little man, bruised but standing. Dozens more. Men from corners, barbershops, pool halls. Women from rent books he paid. Old heads who remembered the Queen days. Not armed to cause a war, but to witness justice. The Italians looked around. Power shifted quietly, like gravity choosing a side. Bumpy stepped closer to Archie, 2 feet away, face unreadable. You brought strangers to my home, he said, voice low. You aimed guns at my wife in her sleep. You tried to take Harlem by cutting my throat. Archie's confidence cracked. He reached for his gun. Too fast, too obvious. Bumpy didn't. Little man fired first. One clean shot to Archie's shoulder, not killing him, but dropping him to his knees. Justice was personal now. Bumpy leaned close, final words like stone. You don't get to die quick. You live with what you chose. He turned. Walked out. Harlem followed. Italians didn't move. They knew the message was delivered without a war. Bumpy ruled by discipline, not slaughter. Archie survived, but never rose again. A ghost on his own streets. Respect gone. Name rotten. That was worse than death. Weeks later, Harlem felt stable again. Business flowed. Children laughed on stoops. Street lights seemed brighter. Because order, once shaken, had returned. People whispered it like gospel.